Yo, what up, there, everybody? It's your homeboy, Heavy Metal Lifestyle, the host of the Pop Culture 2 to 3 podcast. Yo, check it out today. I got a good interview for you today. But before we get into the interview, please smash that like and subscribe button at the bottom and turn your notifications on because I don't want you to be left out when we drop content. Yep, you heard me. I don't want you to be left out when we drop content. So, look, I got Officer Emmanuel in here today to do an interview. He was involved in an altercation at a parade. Yep, I said it, at a parade. Man, somebody just rolled up on him and started dumping. So look, we're here to talk about it today. I just thought it was a good conversation piece. So look, before we get into the interview, like I said, please hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom so you don't get left out. So look, let's jump right into the interview. It's going to be a good one.
We are continuing to follow the investigation into a Flint police officer who shot a woman during a Juneteenth parade over the weekend. The woman was identified as a 19-year-old from Flint. Now, police are saying that the officer was out directing traffic for that parade when the 19-year-old drove up and started shooting at him. The officer fired back, striking the woman, and she later died at the hospital from her injuries.
Yo, so I have the officer himself that was here. Please introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody? Name's Emmanuel Petrick. Just want to say thanks for having me on, KJ. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out, man.
Oh man, thanks for like I said, everybody. Look, we've been talking about, I want to say, a good 2 weeks, a week or something like that, on and off, when he can make it happen, this, that, and the third. So he's been a real sport at it, man. The last couple of interviews we've been doing, we've been talking about like the SIG little situation. I know you've seen that. I mean, I know you know. Since you're an officer, it came through, the SIG situation with the guns and the misfiring and all that. So I've been digging down in that. But once I heard this story and I looked it up, I just thought it was a good educational part about training. Things that happen, during the situation, things that happen after the situation, and that and the aspect of how was your life before this happened, and then what happened after this happened. And it's like the training, like the mindset, what do you have to do on a day-to-day basis to get yourself ready for situations like that? Because we all talk about it, but it's real hard for civilians to really, like, civilians are not really in it, right? We just train to prepare for something that may happen. But as a
Mhm.
police officer, it's every day something may happen. And I know you talked about, you pay for training outside of just, regular training you do with being an officer. And I also want to talk about that too, because I think to me, it's like I probably had just as much training as a civilian as you had outside it. Like, so I know I'm probably well trained up in some avenues of being tactical trained, and I had to pay out of pocket. But I'm just a civilian that, I'm preparing for something that might happen where like I said, every day something could pop off. So, like I said, thanks for coming on, man, and just like kind of just walk us through that day, like just like when you got up and that whole situation. Like, just walk us through that situation.
Oh man. So that day in particular
Well,
was
1 second. So tell them tell them who you are and your background so they'll understand a little bit better.
okay. So originally, I'm from Flint, Grand Blanc area in Michigan. So Grand Blanc's just about 10 miles south of Flint. But up until I was in eighth grade, I lived in Flint, and then when I went to eighth grade, I moved to Grand Blanc, went to Grand Blanc High School. Believe it or not, golf was my life for a long time, middle school, high school, and college. And then I played some pro after college. High school golf, we,
You look a little bit like Tiger Woods. I'm just gonna throw it. Like,
I got that a lot. Yeah.
you
I
got a
got the
little
title.
like you got some little Tiger Wood cousins like somewhere, like, you know what I'm saying. You little Tiger Woods. That Tiger
Yeah,
Woods.
yeah. My nickname was they called me Tiger Hood at Bethune Cookman. That's where that's that's my alma mater. That's where I wound up playing college golf for 4 years, which is that school's in Daytona Beach, Florida. So earned my way down there, got a scholarship, played 4 years there, balled out, had a good time. Believe it or not, I was, I think, I was one of two Americans on my team. Everybody else was from overseas. So England, Ireland, Spain, and we had a couple of guys from. Actually, no, it was England, Ireland, and Spain for the most part for those 4 years.
So I want to really say this, like y'all pay attention, homies. Y'all can get a scholarship to go play golf. Like golf is an
Yes, you can.
avenue. Golf is an avenue that can get you to Bethune Cookman to play golf. Just imagine that scenario where you at and what you're seeing. But keep going, keep going.
Yeah. So yeah, man, did that, and while I was at college and high school, I was involved in theater too. That's a big part of my life as well. I loved getting on stage, doing plays. So when I wasn't at the golf course or the weight room, I was on stage acting. So I did 2 college plays. Had a great time doing that, and so after I graduated with a bachelor's in criminal justice, I wound up getting a position as a graduate assistant strength and conditioning coach. So I was pretty much weight training all the teams there. I was personally in charge of golf, cheerleading, and bowling. And then I would travel for the football games whenever the team had games out of state. Then after that, I came back home. That was in 2017. I knew I was going to go to the police academy that winter, so I decided to play in a couple of mini tour events just because I never really gave myself a chance. I didn't think I was that good in college, but just because, when you look at the pros and the guys that are on the PJ Tour, and you look at how they progress throughout high school, college, and then eventually making it on the mini tours and professional tours, like you kind of see a trend at where you think you should be. And I think a major lesson that I learned in life, because I had the very first mini tour event that I entered in, I actually won that day. And I was like, dang, I can actually do this for a little bit. So I played in a couple more events. It was a little mini tour here in Michigan called the Michigan Players Tour. I actually won the money list that year. It wasn't anything crazy, but that was my first. That was like my first time actually seeing like the hard work payoff monetarily. Because I mean, back then, you didn't have sponsorships. You couldn't. You even take a meal from a coach or anything like that, you were under investigation by the NCAA. So it was a lot stricter back then. And I'm glad to see that, athletes are getting their due pay in regards to, their athletic ability, and schools, making money off of their jersey number in the student store and things like that. So it's just, it would have been nice if that stuff was happening back then. But
I do agree. We could have got. I wish the NIL was out when I was coming out, because it would have been been some money in my pocket back then. A 2-year, not a second year Flint officer, right? Like a second generation, because your dad was a Flint officer too, right?
yeah. So my dad was a Flint police officer. He did his entire career there. So I was a legacy kid. That's what they call it. And
Nice.
my mom was actually they met. My mom was a nurse at the hospital there. That's where all the victims would go to after shootings and stuff. And she was in the ER, and that's how they met at Hurley Medical Center. But yeah, so I am second generation, and me becoming a police officer was just kind of a rite of passage. So
Wow. Yeah. Like I said, I did take my little stint. I got on one side of my family is a bunch of sheriffs and police officers. So one of my side of my cousins were all like sheriffs, captains, and all top cops,
Mhm.
Detroit, and all this. Matter of fact, they had a little movie out on one of them about the. I don't know if you remember when the guys were impersonating police officers and they were robbing people in houses.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
one of my cousins was one of the police officers that took them guys down, and they did a whole story, like a little bio thing about him. So it was cool, man. He was a sheriff, but he had passed away. So yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
yeah, man.
How long was
But
how long was he
huh,
there for? How long was he there for?
man, he was DPD for 20 years, and I don't know. And then he went to the sheriff with Napoleon. He was Napoleon's security. And then when
Okay.
Napoleon went to be Oakland or Wayne County sheriff, he just took him with him. So I don't know exactly how long he was there at the Wayne County sheriff, but he was there for a while.
All right.
He was
Okay.
he was definitely there for a while. So I know how that I know how that is. So
Yeah. Yeah. Did you
so
just
how
go
yeah.
ahead? Sorry, I was going to ask what made you go a different route.
Um I took the test. I didn't pass the test until my wife was like, "You did what? You did?" She's like, "You can't be." She said, "Listen, you only got one option. You can go be a Rochester police officer. You can't be DPD or Oak
Yeah.
Park. Yeah, you can't be none of that. You can go be Ferndale's or Beverly Hills. None of that." She's like, "You can go be that, but you can't go be Wayne County Sheriff and you can't go be DPD." So.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
a
took
smart woman right there, man.
I took I love my wife. I listen sometimes, right? I listen sometimes. So so take us through, that day, man, that altercation and that situation that happened. Like, so, we can get into that. Cause it was and when I looked at it and I was just reading, I was like, man, that was some real extreme shit going on. So just take us through that situation.
Yeah, yeah. To give it some context, I feel like I need to it kind of explain, I guess, my career leading up to that point. Because the more I look back at it, sometimes I'm like, the stuff was actually getting to a boiling point. So I went to the academy in 2017, and then from there just went right to the road. After I was done with FTO, I tried out for SWAT, or SWAT, TRT, whatever you want to call it. I got on that team. I was there until I left Flint in 2022. But I think that joining the team and taking my firearms training very seriously, because I mean it's no secret, like the department standards. I think they're a little bit better now, but overall they are lowest common denominator training, and what the training does is that it gets you, it kind of just checks a box. It doesn't really prepare you to get into a gunfight. And I remember when I was in the academy, I had an instructor who told me that I really needed to focus on, because when you're in the academy you get a week or a week and a half of firearms training. Mine was a week. I can't really speak for other academies. And he said, you really need to focus because this is the best firearms training you're going to get. And I always thought that was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, because, I had done my own research and I knew there were people out there that provided quality, top-notch training, people that had been in gunfights, people from the military, law enforcement. So I kind of just, bit my tongue and got through that whole process. So when I was out and when I had, saved up enough money, I was traveling and training on my own. The very first class that I took, I believe, I think I trained with Jared Reston out in New Hampshire. And then I went and took probably the class that I credit to saving my life, which was Will Petty's Centrifuge VCQB course. That course was a week long. It was intense. And it really, Will, he doesn't cut corners. He's a very intelligent dude, and he makes you rise to the occasion. So that whole week was, it was gunfighting in and around cars. I remember the first time I went through the course, it was raining the whole week, freezing cold, and they were long days. They were 8-hour days, and you just had to get through it.
If it ain't raining, you ain't training. That's my philosophy. Cause
Exactly,
I
exactly.
was
Yeah.
born in what they say brimstone and fire. When I started training, it was in Michigan, and it was nothing but rain and mud. If it wasn't
hmm
100 degrees, it was raining. So it wasn't no good days I ever had training. I could just probably put that out there. So I understand that. But go ahead.
Yeah, it was. It just happened that way, and but it was it really opened my eyes to a lot, not only from a gunfighting standpoint, but where instruction is just overall in law enforcement. It's way different now. It's a lot better. But back then, it was still kind of behind, and this was about 4 or 5 years ago. So from there, I took a couple more classes and just really honed in on my firearms training, bringing training back to my department, to the team. Um, And, at that time, I was also on our proactive unit. We called it SIU, Special Investigations Unit. You're pretty much just a proactive unit. And to give people some context, Flint, we're back, still to this day, very short staffed, high call volume. You may have, you could have anywhere from 6 to 7 officers patrolling the whole city of Flint. And in the summertime, you got stuff popping off, you got shootings, domestics, you're just running calls the entire length of your shift.
Well, let me ask you
Um,
this: when you say 6 or 7 officers patrolling
yeah.
Flint, you got to remember it's people that's from Metro Detroit probably know Flint, but people that's listening. So Flint, it would be how big would you like to say 6 or 7 officers is not enough to patrol Flint at a certain time, or
Right.
what?
You know what? Let me look because I can't, Let me see.
You talking about the
Let
population of
me
Flint,
give
or
you an accurate number so I don't, so I don't.
because they could think Flint may be like 4 or 5 blocks or 6 blocks or whatever, and not really understand. And then people that's listening, Flint is like a city outside of Detroit. It's probably what Flint is. No, that's Pontiac. It's like 45. Flint is like an hour 20.
Yeah, Flint's about an hour north of Detroit.
Right.
Not it's nowhere near as big as. Hang on one second. Let me see here.
So when he's making reference, so everybody know exactly how big, or the population, to say how many officers should have been patrolling at that point in time, so to give some context.
I mean, anywhere from it says here 81,000 people. Let me see here. 81,000 people. And then let me look up the square mileage on here.
But to say, so basically to say that six cruisers wasn't enough to patrol it, especially not in the
Yeah,
summertime.
34, 34 square miles. So, I mean, it's, the amount of officers we had just wasn't nearly enough for the type of crime and work that you had to do. You're one person, put it this way, one person was probably doing the work of 3 or 4 extra officers if we had it.
So
Um,
one thing, and I thought we'd probably get into it later, but you have brung it up. Why did you feel like it was important to take money out your own pocket to pay for classes? And then two, why wasn't the department pushing more training to get better results out of officers? Like, why is that not a thing?
well, here's the thing, and I kind of see it both ways. Is that you have every doesn't matter what profession you're in. There are different types of people. There are what's the saying? If you go into battle out of 100 people, 80% aren't going to fight. The next 10% are going to do some of the work, and then the last 10 are going to do the work that needs to get done, right? And I think that philosophy is true in just about every aspect of any career field that you choose. Like you have the people that put in the mediocre work, and then you have the people that are very serious and will go the extra mile and will do what's necessary to get to the level that they want to get to. What a lot of cops do is that they rely on their department way too much, and they expect that their department is going to cater to their every need, which the department, they just can't do that. It's not fair. The department has to pretty much give out training that across the board fits everybody's skill set, unfortunately. And as you and I both well know, not everybody, cops included, not everybody has the skill and the mental, what's the right word, aptitude to handle a firearm in some of these advanced classes. And, it is what it is. I think there's a baseline level that most police officers need to be at. But to be honest with you, most police officers aren't at that baseline level. And again, some of the training, the good training is quite expensive too. Not only is it expensive, but you have to make sure that you have the manpower to cover time off. And you have to, well, I would pretty much say that those are the probably two most important things. And also you have to make sure that if you're going to do training like this, that people can actually do it in a safe manner, because you don't want people getting injured on duty. Then you got to go on STD and fill out a whole bunch of paperwork. And, so I see both sides. So it's just one of those things to where you're better off doing it doing it on your own dime, and doing it out of your own pocket. If you truly want to get good at something, then especially something like shooting, then you really need to take the time to invest it for yourself and not wait for your department to invest in it for you.
So, but how did they take it when you brought education back to the department? Like, were they
Oh, it
open
was
to?
no, it was well received. Yeah, I had a great team. I had great supervisors, and it was well accepted. And I wasn't the only guy going out there and getting after it. I had pretty much most people on my SWAT team, they were taking classes. So it wasn't just me. But no, with the group of guys that I was kicking indoors with and doing the proactive stuff with, it was well received.
So, I got a question for you.
Mhm.
I need that one time story. You got to give me that one time story, like that one time we kicked in the door and it was finish the sentence. It's like that one time we kicked in this door and it was some shit going on in here because
You
door
know,
kickers
that's
in Flint. I don't
that's
know
the
if people
thing.
understand.
Every
Uh,
time you kick in the door at Flint, you got a reason to kick in the door, and there is something going on. And I can't tell you how many doors I've kicked in the madness that ensues when it happens. But I would say, the one thing is, the dogs. I would say is after you get your first, it's usually a pit bull, and after you put down your first one, it's just like they just keep coming. So and I have I can remember some things and some things that I have truly forgotten because I've done it so much. But there has been some, when you first make entry, because I was usually carrying the shield just because I was one of the shorter guys in the stack, so I'm first up because I'm carrying the shield. So when you go in, it is madness. It really is. But it's very, you get an adrenaline rush, and you get satisfaction from getting the people that have been causing all the mayhem in the city. So it's I remember some things I don't. I do remember the first dog that I had to shoot, the giant wolf of a dog that I had to shoot. But yeah, man, it's always some madness, always some madness going on.
so you was the shortest guy in the stack, and so was that like a rite of passage? Like you the short guy, we're gonna put you in the front to hold the shield, so we can just jump over top of you and just do what we got to do if we get through
Well,
that door.
yeah, man, you gotta get that was just the role that I had to play, and I was more willing to play it. There was another guy who I always would call us like first and second string running backs. So when he wanted to take the shield, I'd be like, good man, you can have it this time because you're carrying that one shield. It weighs about 50 pounds, and you're trying to keep it up the whole time, and your arm just gives out. But so I actually preferred to be like second or third. I liked having my rifle on me. The shield, we go to the range, we practice with the shield, but I didn't mind doing it. It wasn't my favorite thing to do, but you gotta be well versed wherever you fit it in the stack.
So okay. So let me ask you this: do you get to pick where you, besides the shield, do you get to pick where you want to be in the
Mhm.
stack?
Sometimes like if it was my raid, depending on how many guys we had and who we had, it would just depend. But I mean, when you're on a team, like everybody can pick up the slack. Everybody knows everybody else's roles. So if you have to move people around, it's not really that big of a deal if you have to change stuff up.
So I think matter of fact, it's tomorrow. It's a group of guys that get together at it's called it's a laser tag called Battlefield. It's called Battlefield. It's in
Oh,
April.
Battlefield CQB. Yeah, I
Yes,
heard of that
CQ.
place. Yeah, I was gonna check
Yeah.
it out.
A couple. It's another YouTuber. He's a good guy, Austin. He runs Prepare Mindset, and he took a lot
Mhm.
of the Orion. I can't think of the group right now, but
Orion Training Group.
yeah, so he did a lot of their CQB work, but so he also comes to that class like when the doors are shut, when they close out, and they'll run through CQB work. They work on hallway entry. I mean, they work on team stacks and all that. So it's cool to learn that
Where was he
information.
just up here
Huh?
like a week ago? I saw that group up there. Wasn't he just up here about a week ago, 2 weeks
So
ago?
this is like their second time coming to the Battlefield CQB place. So they rent the place out and
Hmm.
they host a class there. And the guy, I think Austin is kind of like the in between them and that facility. So he makes sure they
Okay.
come up here and they use that. So they've been up here like I want to say 3 times, but for sure last year and this year they've been there at that facility teaching CQB work, 2 man, 3 man. I think also whoever. I just know I know they've been there, and both times I missed them. I didn't have the cheddar to get into the class because it is an expensive class and it's a 2 day class. But even that, like
Hmm.
even on Thursdays, Austin to come down and he teaches like people that want to show up and people that want to learn to actually know how to maneuver in between spaces, like team stack, understanding concept, door entries, side entries, uh, 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 angle, get into the doors, get out the hallway, all that good stuff. So center door fed and corner doors, all that. So it's good to know it. Like I said, I've been in a couple classes and I had also took some CQB work prior to that in Indiana. So I get it. It's some great information to actually to learn. And I think everybody should learn how to maneuver in like closed spaces, especially because especially if you live in Detroit, urban areas, you need to learn how to maneuver into tight areas like that, especially in your house, right? Because things happen at home.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially in your home, I think that's where people can find common ground. You don't necessarily have to, train like you're on a SWAT team, but especially in your home, like being able to clear your house is a very good skill set to have. So
Yeah, and I try to preach that, but like you said, some of them classes are expensive, and it's for some people, for most people, it's not like in the budget, right? It's not, it's not something that you're gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna go take this class. It may be 700 or 800, and maybe 2 days, so that's time off of work. That's ammo, whatever, travel, whatever, because you don't really get. Some training like that is usually not in the area. So it was cool that they brung that information to Michigan area that people can actually go to. So,
yeah, yeah,
what
that's
other classes you
great.
took that was kind of like
I
very
went
very
to,
helpful?
I would say a good CQB course that I went to was the I went to Alliance PD. They have a great shoot house. Joe is a great source of knowledge, and that's actually where Centrifuge actually got its start. Kind of the groundwork that Will was putting into. So after Centrifuge, I went to Alliance PD and got some good CQB training there. And that's really when I was. I haven't as of recent, as of I think the last class that I took was I think the last class that I took was another round of VCQB. We had, you have to retest every 2 or 3 years. And I did that just before I left for the new department that I'm at from the city of Flint. And I honestly, outside of USPSA, I haven't taken a class. It's pretty much just been USPSA and just working on the things that I've learned over the years. I'm not currently on a team at my new department. I kind of let that stuff be at Flint. I had gotten enough of my fill of that. So, um, but now that I am in the schools, I do try to again just rep what I've learned with people that I train with outside of work. So.
So, and like the situation that happened at Flint, and it was like, and it was crazy. It was during Juneteenth, and can you like just like that day, like what was going on
Man,
that
I'm telling
that
you
day?
what, if you'd have told me, especially going to a HBCU and with me being black, that was going to happen to me, I would have said never in a million years. You'd have to be crazy. Like, I still to this day, I'm like, what are the odds? It has to be like 0.00, like just a crazy, like fraction of a percentage. And I sometimes it still blows my mind. But I do believe that I had an angel in the sky looking after me that day, because again, leading up to that point, being on SWAT and also being on the proactive unit, we were working very, very long days. And while it was fun, you don't realize while you're having fun the damage that it does. Working long hours, 16-hour days, sometimes 7 days a week. And you really don't take time out for yourself. You don't want to, and I was, it's kind of that old school mentality, right? Don't take time off work, let your PTO build up, max out. I'm the complete opposite now. But back then, it was about having fun, and it was about catching bad guys, and it was about, just trying to balance the scales in a way. And I really took the job to heart, and it really became my identity, because it got to a point to where I would have rather gone to work and get into a car chase and make the money doing it than just having a night out. Like when you're experiencing that type of adrenaline rush and kind of getting that kind of action on a daily basis, it's very, very hard. At least it was for me, because I'm an adrenaline junkie, to do something like as mundane as like going out and getting a drink. I'm like, why am I gonna, like, why? Like I could go to work and do something cool. Like you really are trying to get that combat high all the time. And again, sometimes you don't realize that the damage that you do to yourself when you're doing it.
So somebody say that's a true statement, right? So to to
Yeah.
to say that you would rather go jump in the car and go on a high speed chase and risk life and limb, opposed to just going and watching a movie, grabbing a drink, and say we just chilling tonight. That's a lot.
I'll
That's
tell you that this is when I realized I had a problem. I remember this. I was in a car chase, and I was coming up to a busy intersection, and I was so zoned in on this guy. Like, I mean, I was looking left and right, but my tunnel vision was so severe. I didn't see this huge semi coming to the right of me, and it just missed me. Like, had I been a second off, I would have died. And I remember looking, and I remember laughing to myself, and I got this high, and we wound up catching the dude. But at that point, I realized that me flirting with death like that I had a problem.
it takes a high speed
But
chase to let you know.
I remember being in the cruiser just laughing like, ha! And I just kept going. And I remember that because I was like, dude, like this is not. And like when you go on these raids, you have people pointing guns at you. There was a time when this was back when I think Trump first got in office, and we had a detail. We were in plain clothes watching the polls, and I remember we get a call nearby we get a shots fired call, and so we go over there, and my partners are ahead of me, and we're all in unmarked cruisers, and we're all in plain clothes, and we pull up, and this guy, my partner says shots fired, shots fired. Well, the dude had shot at my partner, thinking it was his the people that he was beefing with or whatever. And I remember when me and my other partner pulled up, he was in the car ahead of me. The guy, he was on the porch. He pointed the gun at my partner. My partner dove out of the car, and I had to cut in front of his. And, me and this guy had a long stare down. And once he realized we were the police, he gave up. But I remember that guy was like at least 50 yards away. But I remember the barrel of that gun being the size of a cannon, like your tunnel vision. And, when you're in those moments of, those split second decisions of, life or death, sometimes you think about, you realize that it's real and it's not a game. And I think, going back to the shooting, going up to that point, like it was every major incident I was getting into, it was getting closer and closer and closer to the point of, you might have to pull a trigger at some point. So
The tunnel vision and the matrix really it comes in, right? It's a real thing. Like you said, you getting laser like focus on a
yes, it does.
situation.
Yes, it does. The slowing of time, the narrowing. I remember, we'll get into it, but in my shooting, I remember, because it was raining that day, I remember just before I pulled the trigger, I remember the raindrops were like falling in slow motion. Do you remember that game, Max Payne, where you could like slow down time?
Oh, I used to
That's
love that
exactly,
game.
yep, time dilation. And it's a cool thing that our brain does this to allows us to process time. But yes, like, the more you experience tunnel vision, the more that, the more that you get used to it. But I think the most important thing that I learned was, I took a class, with Rob Pincus. Do you know who that is?
Yeah,
Really cool dude.
you throwing out some giants. You throwing out some giants. I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
'em.
Rob Pincus was, he was a really, I took his, defensive shooting class. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not defensive, intuitive shooting. And I
Mhm.
learned a lot about fight or flight, what your body actually does. And I think outside of Will Petty's VCQB class, that was probably another milestone class that I took. I learned more in that, I think it was like a 4-hour class, and I had learned in some other classes that I've taken. Um, but I also bought his book too, and that guy is a wealth of knowledge for sure.
Yeah, he's in the 2A space. He's well known. Like a lot of the guys that you throwing out, it's on my list to take. I train a lot with MDFI, and MDFI came like they used to
Oh
do the
yeah,
shoot.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I know the owner, and like I used to train a lot with the owner when I first started. So I took all his classes, and I know they used to do shoot house and stuff at the place that you were just talking about. Where was the shoot house at? The not M Tech Center.
Alliance, Ohio.
Alliance, and I
Yeah, the
know a lot
Alliance
of
Police.
guys that
Yeah.
train up there. I know a couple guys that train up there with them in the shoot house. So I heard about that. So, like I said,
Yeah,
the
I would say
petties,
that's
and
one
then
to go to.
I think that I want to say he came here recently. The guy you just mentioned. I think he was there like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Because my one homeboy took
Rob
a
Pincus.
class. I think Pincus was here. Yep. Up
Okay.
somewhere. I don't know where he's at. My homeboy would tell me about it because I think every time he come in town, he train with him. But I'm gonna ask him. So I'm glad you brought it up. So I wanna show this. Let me see how this would look. So take us through this because this is some. You said this is from footage from the cruiser.
Yep. So it was me and my partner. So you'll see me walking up there. Can you point your arrow towards me so they can? Yeah, so that's me right there. My partner Ed, he was, just to the left of the cruiser where
Yep.
this footage is coming from, setting cones and stuff.
Right.
So that's me. I'm directing traffic because the parade's behind us, and Claressa Shields was leading the parade, and
Right.
they were coming up that way, so we had to redirect traffic so they could continue north on Saginaw Street. And so I get up to that point right there. I'm telling the cars to move, and I see this silver sedan pull up, and it's got tinted windows, and I'm telling it to go, and it's not going.
Right.
And the next thing I'm seeing bullet holes penetrate the glass, and I'm hearing the sound of gunshots. I
So
still
this
remember what that is.
that's the person actually firing outside of the window herself, right there.
Yeah, yeah. So you can see it right there,
Yeah.
the glass and kind of in the air. Um, yeah, she tried to shoot at me through, while she was sitting in the car, and me working 16-hour days, 7 days in a row, I was exhausted. I was, I mean, honestly, had she taken Will Petty's VCQB class, I
No,
probably,
we're not gonna say that, man. She can't. You can't.
she probably would have had the upper hand, but thank God that she didn't know that, all the bullets went up over my head. And,
So
and
and
at
so
that point,
let's talk about that. So people, and it's a
yep.
misconception. This is somewhat of a misconception that you can, if I'm not saying it right, especially jump in and tell me. When people see like stuff on TV, and I took a class with the homeboys, DMI Performance, and they had a vehicle out there, and they also had the glass. And
Mm-hmm.
from my understanding, and people see TV magic, they think bullets just penetrate and go straight in, like where they're at. Sometimes, like depending on if they're engaging in the car, out the car, like the bullets just don't go like where they're supposed to. They may deflect down or may deflect up. Like if you inside the car, I think they deflect up, or if you outside the car, they kind of deflect down because of the glass.
Yep. So
And am I
so
saying that
yeah, so
right?
all
Because
those
I want to
bullets.
get that. I
Yeah,
want to get that right.
you're 100% right. So when you're sitting inside of a vehicle shooting, from in to out, the bullets are going to deviate up. And when you're shooting from outside to in, the bullets deviate down and they also deviate towards the center. So yeah, you'll see it. The bullets. So I didn't even know it, but the bullets were going right over my head. Granted, she was aiming high. It's not that much of a deviation, but yes, the bullets were going straight over my head.
Right. And I was telling people like TV magic, that's not always. And then we can go here and oh man, where is this at? And this is a different view from where it was at. So just take us through what's going on here.
Yeah. So this view starts. You don't see her shooting here. You see my reaction to the shots afterwards.
Uh-huh.
And these are bystanders just to the right of Brianna from this angle. And so at pretty much at this point, when I see the gunshots, I was like, what just happened? Like, did somebody shoot at the car? Was there shooting inside the vehicle? The windows are tinted, so I can't see anything. So here, I'm calling to her. I'm saying, I'm asking her like, honey, are you okay? Are you hurt? Are you injured? Like she is stonewalled. She's looking straight ahead. Her eyelids are wide open. She's not saying anything. I'm not getting a reaction. I didn't know what was going on. So I got closer. I said, honey, are you okay? She looks at me and she says, get the fuck away from me. And at that point, that's when the fight or flight instinct really kicked in, and I realized what was going on. I knew something was wrong.
So let me ask you this. And I seen that you went from the say at 9:00, was at 9:00, and then you went back to like 7 or 8. Well, now why was that? Why did you make that adjustment to get out her? Like, why did you make adjustment to go to the back opposed to the front? Because you was in the front a little bit here, and then you kind of see that maneuver there. What was that about? Like, why did you do that? What was you
just
thinking
get
in?
a better look of what was going on, just to see what was in the car. And a lot of people, a lot of people were like, well, why didn't you take cover and this and that? And you don't have time for that stuff. I wasn't going to turn my back to her. And, could I have ran? Sure. But you know what? I had a problem, and, I cut my angle. I saw what was going on inside the car. I saw that she had a gun, and,
like some people, like you actually pied the car. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you use that pie technique to pie the car to see, angle and get a better view. Cause you going from like, you seeing like 10% more 10. Now you get more views. So you get more information to make a judgment call. Right. So you're actually capitalizing on space and you keeping your distance. You're not up on the car. You're pieing it. And that's what I say. I like, man, I see the technique, the movement there. Like, okay, he's moving and he's constantly, he's readjusting. She don't know whoever's in the car don't know what's going on. She, it's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, that was what did it do? Did it go? So I seen that in what was going on there. But do we know what caused this? This is just something like just a freak situation or what?
So in the moment, you like I said, I was just trying to figure out what, had she, was she shooting at me? Was somebody else shooting? Once I figure out, she really tried to kill me is when I, cut my angle, saw that she had a gun. I gave her one last chance to put it down. And when she turned towards me, I fired. I remember seeing her head snap back, and that's when I was just kind of done mentally. Afterwards, I found out that I believe she left a note to her, I think to her immediate family that she was living with at the time. I believe, and I also believe that her boyfriend was killed the night before, not by police, but from somebody else. So I think she was just in a state of I don't want to be here, and it was suicide by cop, pretty much, is what it was. So,
And I'm looking, and I wish I get it. And then now I see that you sitting on you down on your knees and you just like taking it all in, like, oh, this just happened, and then your partner came up and just
Mhm.
like, he's like, hey man, you did whatever. Like, what's going through your mind, and what is he saying at this point in time? Because at this, because this,
He's trying to
I,
put out the radio traffic. He's trying, he's trying to help me off the ground and also, keep his eye on the vehicle. There's only so much he can do. I tell Ed all the time, thanks for being there. I have done some incredible work with that guy. I love him to death. And, he's just doing the best with what he's got. You can see he's got the rifle in the hand. He doesn't know if I'm shot or not. We're both in this mess together. So he's just doing the best that he can do. But at that point, when I had fallen to the ground, and there was a moment, I remember I had the slowing of time. I remember the raindrops falling slowly, and there was a voice in my head that I remember, and it said, "This is it. There's no going back from this." And again, remember when I had talked about all these incidents building up to this point? um, there really is a point of no return when you talk about, taking a life and having to do it. And there's a part of you that they don't talk about these things in the academy. Pretty much the gist of it is, you have an instructor come in and say, if you could get into a gunfight, do you think you could, do you think you could, shoot back and unalive the guy? And of course, as a recruit, you're sitting there like, yes, I could, but you really don't know what that means, because there's another side to it. There's a human side to it. And when I look back at it, and when I teach, I teach this moment at the academy that I used to go to, and I've been teaching it for 4 or 5 years, is that you have to, number one, you have to work on your weaknesses. So my weakness, what I learned, was that I was not prepared to kill a young woman. And, you
unalive,
know,
unalive, unalive.
Unalive. Sorry, I apologize. Unalive. I was not prepared to unalive a female or a young woman. And, I had to explore this, and I was like, why? Well, it's because I grew up old school, right? No women, no children. Those were off limits. That's what all the bad guys and good guys said in all the cop movies and all the action movies. Like, and that those are just the values that I grew up with. And in my mind, I could never imagine a woman doing something like this, right? And the gunfight that I had envisioned myself getting into it was always going to be a man, because it's common, that's what we do. So the first thing that I had to get over was that, hey, everybody's capable of violence, young, old, man, woman, doesn't matter. Like, it is what it is. um, I think the next thing too, was that, I had to, there's still some part of me, and that's just who I am, that wishes I could have done something else. Um, and when I've seen people that have been in crisis before like that, and you try to bring them back, but she didn't. There was no compromise. There wasn't a way out for me. Like, she forced my hand, and I just had to accept the fact that you know that it is what it is, and in a brutal way, you know when you talk about life and death, it's really that simple. And then also there's a human side to it. It's a very, for me, it was easy to do, like, it was a no-brainer, but afterwards you do kind of wrestle with it. At least I did for a little bit.
Well, I mean, as you know a former CPL instructor or whatever, guys is just talk about, we in this 2A space and we carry every day because it's a lifestyle. But, it's we always talk about, you always got that. To me, you dream about and you got that vision of what a perfect situation it will be, right? Well, not a perfect, but like, this is what I
Mhm.
happen, this is what I'll do. And then now it's a kink in there they threw at you, and it's like, oh, this was not what I thought it would be, or this is not what I thought I would have to do to a person because I came up old school, no, 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 women, no kids. But now that situation happened. So it's like
Hmm.
you don't know, how you react or how you would do. It's just something you got to take care of and got to deal with. Like we don't know, like, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. Like, how was that afterwards? Like that after the situation, a day or 2 days or a week later, how was your mental? Like, how did you process what was going on? Because we talk
I tell
about
you
it.
what, it was. If I had to describe it, because I remember going to my sessions with the doctor, like I described it as having a feeling of grayness, like dullness, like I still can't find the right words to describe it, but you just kind of feel. I felt drained. I felt tired. I felt it was like it was like a stain you couldn't get rid of, and it was almost like it's almost like um, we exchanged something in a way, right? Because she had all that pain that she was going through. She forced my hand, and then I gave away, some of my innocence as well. And, once I still carry it around. It's not something that I can get rid of. And it's not something sometimes that I can really put into words. It's more of a feeling, more of something you feel in your spirit. I remember, when I fell and I yelled, he was like, my doctor told me, he was like, that was your spirit crying out, as a warrior, as a protector. And and when he said that, I kind of understood what he meant. Because, and like I said, that kind of that exchange, it was, she was in pain, and, and then in return, I was in pain for what I had to do. And it's interesting how we as human beings, we pass on our trauma to one another, and we really sometimes don't realize what we're doing. So, for the next couple of days, well, it was actually months before I went back to work. So, um, but yeah, you go through denial, you go through acceptance. I'll talk about denial. I actually thought in my state of, because after I shot her, I fell to the ground. I was crying, I was screaming, I had all this energy, and they had trouble getting me inside the cruiser. And I was like, you guys got to get off me right now. I have to, like, I like couldn't calm down. And I remember I punched the mirror on the cruiser. I was like, I can't believe she tried to unalive me. Like, I was in disbelief. And for a brief minute, I was like, I second guessed myself. I said, did I really see a gun? I remember my sergeant came up to me. He was checking on me. I was like, Sarge, I'm going to prison. I'm finished. Because at that time, every cop that got into a shooting, you were so you'd go to roll call, you'd see these videos of cops just doing really dumb stuff, and you'd be like, okay, he's going to prison, or he's getting sued, or you just imagine the worst. And my brain was imagining the worst possible outcome. But my sergeant was like, no, you did what you were supposed to do. And when he said that, I think that was kind of more of a reassurance. And I remember my dad came out there, and he was able to get me, like, centered and calm. And you talk about it was very surreal, because I remember going back, and everybody was photographing my equipment, and then they were like, okay, go home and get some rest. And the next thing I know, I get into a gunfight, and I'm sitting at the dinner table with my family like nothing ever happened. You talk about feeling really weird and out of place. I think that pretty much if you can imagine that, like, going through that, and the next thing you know, like, fast forward, you're at the dinner table just shooting the shit with your fam. It's kind of surreal in a way.
Right, and the wife say, "Well, how was your day, honey?" Well, let me tell you.
Yeah,
This,
yeah, let
this,
me tell you. Like,
let
you
me tell you. Are you sitting back and ready for this one? Um, you know, you growing up in a neighborhood, like I'm from the inner city, so you see violence, you hear about violence, you grow up and you're a part of some of it, but to actually be like that into the violence, like what you had to actually do, like we can't, like you can't teach that. Like you don't know, like it's always like what happens after. And when because you like a CPR instructor, you have these insurances that you give, like you get like firearms legal protection or USCCA, and they also add a feature in there. And what is it? Uh, bear right to bear. They also have a feature in there like that talk to people after a situation, because
Hmm.
you got the situation, but how are you going to go on with your life knowing that you had to, what I'm saying, take care of a situation to protect yourself, protect your family. Because we all like, hey, I'm this person, I'm a protector. Then somebody try to come take my family, that's different. But you at work, like you had to check in and do an 8-hour shift or a 16-hour shift, not knowing that this is what you had to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like how do you process it? And like your next couple of days at work is like, man, now like when you check back in or you go back to work, are you like looking at things different? Are you like, okay, is this car, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you having like flashbacks or seeing cars with tinted windows? And now you like, no, I can't do this no more because
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
There was definitely there was definitely a pullback in terms of me being proactive and things of that nature. And for a while I didn't pull over cars with tinted windows because I hadn't mentally completely gotten over it. And like I said, I didn't go back to work for 3 months. I started to play golf again just because, you got to remember up to this point, I was getting a dose of adrenaline like all day, every day. So when you completely shut me off from that, I have, my body's still, making all this adrenaline and stuff. And I had to use it. Like I couldn't just sit there. There was no way that I could just, not do anything. So I started to play golf again. I played in a couple of tournaments and just really using that energy and still going to my sessions um but yeah, and this is kind of the brutality of life, as I like to call it. Things when it comes to life and death, they're pretty black and white, right? And the way he told me, he said, she made a choice, and she played a game and she lost, and you have to, he had a painting on the wall and it showed the Grim Reaper over this battle zone, and it was like three soldiers. Like in the background it was them fighting, and in the front it was them running away. And he said those are your two options. You either can pretty much, you can get over it, or you can let it haunt you. And I was raised old school. Both my parents are in public service, and it was just, for me, it was just a rite of passage. And life doesn't stop for any of us. You have to keep going no matter what happens. So,
So how long after the situation did you get cleared of? Like, is it a month or 2 months that they say, you know what, it was a good, I want to say, like you was cleared of, like everything you did was right on par. Like you didn't you didn't exceed or overdo the situation. Like so it was justified
every
or
every situation is different, and I mean, mine, thank God, it was pretty cut and dry. She shot at me first. She missed. I shot back, and I pretty much won that fight. So, there really wasn't any. There was no. It was black and white. There
okay.
there was no mistaking anything that could possibly have been negative or anything like that. And like I said, it took 3 months for me to get back to work. Some people, they take less. That's just how long it took for me.
Well, how did it? And I don't want to. I'm gonna say community because so many times that police officers get bad raps about over excessive, being over aggressive over this and that, and I was just like, I like, it's weird because you got a police officer that has to cut a switch on to go get a cat out the tree, to go switch on to go take care of a bit, you know what I'm saying, do something like that. So it's weird, like you got officers, they got to go from 0 to 60 like so fast. So like how did what I'm saying, the community see you as after that situation happened, because you was on the news, things were happening and people seeing you around, and
Hmm.
it's bad because like I said, police officers get bad rap, but I tell people like, listen, they got to go from 0 to 60 and then go home. Come on, man. You got to give them a break. Like, they out there to protect and serve at the same time. They still human beings, and you can't. It's crazy how defund the police, defund this. I'm like, no, don't defund them. Give them more money. Get them more training so they get more educated. They can help better or do whatever. Get more police officers out there. All kind of stuff. So I was,
Mhm.
it just is weird to see, like, they glad you there, but sometimes they throwing rocks at y'all ass. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you in a profession. It's I don't think they love you enough, and they hate you more. So I don't know how to process that.
What was crazy is that that video that they took, my teammates actually reached out to me, and I hadn't talked to them in a while. They were like, "Dude, are you okay? We know this is you." And I was like, "That video made it all the way over to the UK and Spain and Ireland." They were like, "Yeah, man, we knew it was you when it said Flint and we saw your tattoos." And I just thought that was a crazy thing, and I saw that it had made its way to a news station in India, and I was like, "Wow." But as far as people in the community, it's always hot and cold, man. Everybody, when they see a police shooting, they just assume that, I would say, you know, the media has an agenda when it comes to law enforcement. Um, they're trying to get the public riled up. I would say that in general. And when my shooting first came out, the only thing that came out was that video that the young girl recorded on her phone, and it doesn't show the shots that she shot at me. It just shows me shooting at her. So of course you have everybody. This officer needs to be locked up. Let's see the body cam footage. And at one point, um, I I don't know if that was confirmed. I'll skip that. But at one point, there were people that I got word that were looking for me in the city of Flint, but I wasn't at work then. So, and then when the truth came out, all that chatter, it goes away. And when you do your job when you do your job right, and when you do the right things, I think you have a high probability of surviving the scrutiny and the criticism.
It, social. What's crazy is the clip that we seen from social media. The one little.
Mhm.
I just recently seen that clip. Like, it just popped up on my YouTube algorithm for some weird reason. Maybe because it was June, and maybe it just popped up, and I didn't know that was you. Like, and once me and you got cool, you followed me, I followed you. I seen the clip on your Instagram, and I say, oh, that was him. But I seen it recently, like, in YouTube, but I don't know how, because it must have just popped in
Mhm.
my algorithm. And it was funny. I talked to my homeboy, and I was looking at the film, and I said, "Why are these people sitting here basically down range, and this officer is about to do something to this car, not knowing that?" And the girl and the person in the car was like, "Oh, it hit my car, hit my car." And I'm just like, "What?" And I'm looking at the video like, these people stupid. Why am I sitting here about to watch this, and it stopped my car right on an angle where those rounds maybe could hit me? I was just looking at it like, man, these people just want to record shit and show media, and not really get the whole picture, and then say, well, people need to check on your family. And that's another thing I don't like about the social media aspect. Like, they so quick to judge and not get all the information to say if it was justified or not. But now they ready to march and throw pics, and walk and say, do this to this police officer. This need to happen, and not understanding everything that led up to that situation for you to have to handle your business. And that's why I was just like, man, they can take a piece of media and then flip it around and make you look like the bad guy, not really understanding everything that happened to lead up to that situation. And that's
Oh
what.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes you get all that information, and sometimes you don't. But again, the media does have an agenda. They like to get people riled up. They like to get the reactions because it keeps them watching the news, right? And if there's one emotion that people react on most of the time, it's anger, and it's especially when it comes to the police, and especially these past couple of years. So when you take a clip like that and you put it out, you're going to get views, you're going to get engagement, you're going to, whether it's good or good or negative. And but yeah, it really shows, like, and me being on the other end of that, because like I said, we used to go on roll call all the time. We used to see videos and have our little debates, but being on both sides of that coin um, was it was very eye opening, because here I am thinking I have done absolutely nothing wrong, and then people still wanted to crucify me on the stake, and then when the investigation was concluded, all those people, you didn't hear anything from them.
Crickets.
Right, crickets.
So now, did you take a step back because of the situation? Because now you are you at a different department, doing different things, and
I would definitely, I would definitely say that was one of the contributing factors. Like I said, in the city of Flint, I had, you see a lot. You see a lot of violence. You see a lot of death. You see, your and with the rate that I was doing it, it just caught up to me, and I think that was probably the cherry on top. You also start to count. You also look at your paycheck and realize the type of work you're doing for the amount you're getting paid. It just doesn't really add up. Um, and here's the reality: had I had died that day, they would have had a big funeral. They would have folded up a flag. They would have given it to my mom. I wouldn't be here anymore, and they would have given my equipment to somebody else. And people may disagree with that and think it's shallow, but it is reality. And I think that you have to just you have to decide what you want. And I think my focus at that point had changed. I knew that, I wanted to be paid better, wanted to be at a different department. And I do believe that accumulation of all those things led to definitely me leaving the City of Flint Police Department.
So where are you at now?
Oakland County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
Mhm.
And now you are. So let me ask you this,
Mhm.
because switching over. So you said you compete at USPSA. Did
Yeah.
some of that training and competition kind of help you with at that point in time, your Flint being an officer, like just the skill set, just the speed of it, the reaction
So
time, and all
I
that?
would say my gun handling foundation got me ready for USPSA. USPSA is a totally different animal within itself, right? So you have tactical shooting, and then I would say this is more along the lines of sport shooting. It's definitely a game. There's definitely strategy to it. And I would say that the average USPSA shooter is more prepared in terms of gun handling and weapon manipulation than the average police officer, because you have running and shooting, um, you have weapon manipulation, you have moving your gun in a safe direction, laterally, forwards and backwards. It is dynamic. There's a lot of agility to it. So I would say that, I would say, again, it's a good foundation to move your weapon in a safe manner and having, good reloading and things of that nature. But, to get good at USPSA, like, that me and you both know, requires a lot of dedication. It requires a lot of strategy, and it requires you to, um, you have to dry fire every single day. Like, there's no, if you miss a beat, like your competition they're just going to smoke you. And if I could compare it to, if I could compare USPSA to anything, I would definitely, from the competitive standpoint and the prep standpoint, I would compare it a lot to golf,
Mm.
because there's a lot of things that I do in USPSA that I did playing collegiate golf, and as far as being prepared, as far as visualization, as far as how I practice. Um, so I would definitely say that yes, the classes that I took gave me a base level of weapon manipulation. But I think in terms of sport performance, because USPSA is a sport in my eyes, I definitely would say from the athletic standpoint that golf definitely has helped me more with that aspect of it.
Yeah, it just I talk to people about perform. Well, my homeboys, one of my instructor mentors, performance on demand, and USPSA,
Mhm.
even IDPA is performance on demand. Talk to people about, you go to the indoor range or whatever, you shoot at the static target or whatever. I said, but do you understand like performance on demand? Like you got to get active, you got to get active, you got to get quick. And I try to get people to come more into the competition world that actually have a CPL class. They might have took a handgun one class or whatever. I say, come over here and shoot an IDPA match or find out what it is, or shoot a USPSA match, find out what it is, because it'll enhance your skill set and understanding of a firearm, and you understand like performance on demand. Like you said, whip. Uh, Handling the firearm in a safe manner, what it means to move and shoot, or seeing targets and all that. So like that's the only way that we can kind of prepare ourselves for a situation, because now you got the buzzer, you under stress, you got people out there watching, it's a whole bunch of things going on. But I was just curious, like, did some of that stuff kind of help you, in your day to day at that point when you was a police officer, as far as when it
Well,
comes to the
I actually didn't start shooting USPSA until I got out to Oakland County.
okay,
So while I was at Flint, I hadn't shot a USPSA match, and then when I got
okay,
out here, because I was a lot closer to everything, because you got Detroit Sportsman's Club, you got Raccoon Hunters, you got Livingston County, Howell, and then you have Oakland County Sportsman's Club, the club that I'm at. So it makes it a little bit easier, and the drive's less less long to get to the matches.
do
But
you try to get some of your fellow officers out there to shoot competition, or they don't see a point
yeah,
in it?
I do try. It is more. I was a more fire and brimstone preacher about it when I was at Flint. Like, you need to train and just like train, train, train. You should be training in your sleep. Um, but um, but
You should be
people,
training in
people
your
are going to deal
sleep.
with exactly. You can see how annoying that is, right? Like, no, I'm not going to train. You sound like an idiot. No, I'm not going to train with you. But I think that it is a great place for people to start. And I think, do I think it is the end all be all? No, I think
Mhm.
sometimes people they put too much emphasis on one particular thing. I think that in order to be, a true student of the game, that you have to, really explore all aspects of shooting. And like I said, USPSA is more of a sport than it is for, um, I guess, actual getting into an actual shooting. Um, and I think getting into an actual shooting, there is more, I believe for most people, there's more mental work that needs to be done with it. And again, when I teach at the academy, a lot of what I teach is based off of, have you ever read Lieutenant Colonel Grossman's book on killing?
Nope. I will look it up on Amazon. Whatever
Yeah,
it's
he
called.
wrote two books. He's a graduate of West Point Military Academy, and what he did is he interviewed a lot of military and law enforcement, and he wrote a book on most of their experiences when it comes to how they described what it felt like to take another human being's life. And what he found out is that these people have never met each other. They're from different departments, different wars, but they all say the same thing. And when I read that book in my time off is when everything really started to make sense for me personally. Um, and I highly encourage everybody that goes through the police academy to read this book. And a lot of what I teach on the mental side of things is based off of that book.
Well, I mean, even a civilian like me could read it and grab some information to help. And
100%.
like I said, I came from the, I'm gonna say, tactical world. That's where I got my experience and skill set foundation. My mentor and my instructor, he got me into the performance, and I really was shooting. It's called ACTS. It's called American Federation of Tactical Shooters, and it's more of a two gun scenario based this is kind of like a two gun. So I started there, and then I kind of got into IDPA, and then I went to USPSA. But I think a mixture of all of them together is a great way to consider yourself a well-rounded, responsible armed citizen, right? And
Hmm.
that's just because
Absolutely.
you getting a taste of everything to understand how to, when to, and all that jazz. So I think it's no one thing is better than the other. I just think that the more you train, you shoot competition, and then you just kind of put it all together and you take bits and pieces of one, and then make sure it fits your lifestyle. It fits who you are, how you move, how you act. Like if you see a IG person or someone on YouTube to do something, and he got something, he runs something, it may not fit your lifestyle. It may not fit how you are or how you carry your body type or all this. So I say practice and work, try different things out. Everything is just not just because he did it, you should do it. Go try to do other stuff so you can see how it fits you in your mindset and your lifestyle, how your house is, how you move every day. So I just think you just take everything and then put it all together, and then you become a total around it, responsible armed citizen. That's kind of
A hundred.
my thought on it.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I think people on social media, they get caught up in one methodology, one technique, one way of doing things, and it's kind of like old school martial arts movies. Like my style is better than yours.
Gundam's right. The
Right.
seven
Let me
deadly
challenge you
sins.
to a duel. But I think that people kind of get, they want to have these long drawn out battles on Instagram and whatever social media platform there is. But I have always thought that force on force training, whether it be airsoft, paintball, or like simunitions, I think that's great for managing emotions because you're fighting another human being. I think that's probably the closest you can get to the real thing. And then everything else is, that's building your foundation, whether it's USPSA, whether it's, a shoot house with static targets. Like there's so many different things you can do. And, it totally depends on, your profession, how you carry, where you live, like what your style is. So, there's no right or wrong way to, in the gun game. It's just what do you need for what you have and at the moment.
Well, and then it's, and especially me, it's kind of like, and like I said, it's kind of like convincing the homies to spend $200 on some training that they, is just, well, I got my CPL license. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's kind of like, bro, come on, man, like come out here. And I did a thing with some guys I've been doing for a while, but you need to learn. It's kind of like convincing the homies to go out and spend $200 on a class. They're gonna be out there for 8 hours, and then they gotta tell their wives or the girlfriend, "Hey, I'm about to go out here and do a thing with my boy doing pew pew," and they don't, it's not clicking or processing. Like it's this gonna make you a better individual. It's gonna make you a better, protector. It's gonna make you a better this. It's like convincing them like this is worth it. Like, bro, you go in there, you spent the money on this thing, you bring it home, you took a class, you carry it. Now what you're gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Now, don't just keep calling me. Don't look at the IG videos on YouTube. Get out there, pay some money, and go do a thing, and you'll understand a little bit better. So, I really
Yeah.
think pushing that, and
You're-
it's bad that not bad, but like good training costs a lot, from the
Mhm.
real good instructors, and like I said, that sometimes that cost will push people that really needs it out of the picture, that really is not tuned in to what's really going on. So, but that's just, it's unfortunate thing, but it is what it is.
Right. Yeah. The cost, especially in today's, how everything is today is definitely a factor. But there, I would say for the average, CPL holder or whatever, there are classes you can take. And, I would definitely advocate USPSA as a great way to start because you're going to be around people that may have taken a high level class and they're going to impart some of that knowledge on you. And, it's not about just taking a class, but it's also getting connected to everybody in the two-way community, right? Because, like even me just talking to you, who Rob Pincus is, who Will Petty is, like, all of these people that have kind of changed the gun game and things of that nature. So, a lot of the stuff you're not really recreating the wheel. It's just we're all getting together and we're all sharing information. And again, I enjoy more so not even the shooting so much, but just being around a good group of people is definitely a major upside to joining USPSA.
Yeah, like I said, I shoot in a bunch of different leagues, and I tell people it's weird because people look at us, people that actually get active and do this, people outside of that world look at us like we're totally different, like we're weird people. You know what I'm saying? Like you're a police officer, so you get a pass, but me, it's like, oh, my auntie, oh, you must think you Black Rambo, you must think you Action Jackson. You know what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
all kind of jokes. It's like, no, this I like to do. I was like I
Yeah,
said,
I just like to do it, man. Come
it's
on.
fun. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like you look. We looked at like we weird, but when you get out there and talk to these people, they're so helpful. They like if you break something, they may got a spare in the car or in the bag, or
Hmm.
they're gonna tell you how to shoot this and this and this. So I learned so much, like you said, just being out there with these guys, learning stage planning or learning this and learn that and just taking little bits here and little bits here. At first I just want to get out there and get some time behind the trigger, just to stay active, stay sharp. And then it came to the point where now I really want to compete because it's just in me to compete, and I can't not go out there and want to chase a time or chase a qualifier or chase this because I want to get better and better and better. And I said I wasn't gonna do that, but the moment I get out there, me and the boys talking shit. Okay, let's go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, all right, you want to
yeah,
go?
yeah. No,
I go out there with you, and I see you do something. Oh, okay, that's what we about to do. All right, okay, let's go. Let's
yep,
okay. So, load, make ready. Let's get it. Hit the buzzer. Let's go. You
yep.
know what I'm saying? That's my mindset. And I was like, listen, man, it's fun. It's just like you go out there and play golf. You out there talking junk. You just like us playing basketball, football, whatever back in the day. Now we just shooting a gun. It's just the same shit. It's just we shooting guns. So
Yeah, yeah, and I would definitely say because I teach CPL classes on the side too, and you always have somebody in there that wants to shoot everything. No matter what scenario you give them, like, oh, I'm gonna shoot them. It's like you can't do that, It's like
you get that guy saying, "What if this? What if that? What? Okay, what
yeah,
happened if a cat and a dog ran in and while I was, it's you get the what if person, and I don't understand that. Like
yeah.
it's no right answer. Like you can't give him. He got another scenario. Like that person, he has a whole nother scenario after you answer the first scenario. So
And then
that's funny.
you'll have the insurance guy come in, and it's like they kind of change their tune really quick when they when they find out what goes into it afterwards. But I always tell people, like, dude, just do USPSA. If you're not trying to spend a pretty penny, after a few matches, you'll probably get the same quality training as you would as if you went to any of the big names that I mentioned. So.
So I'm gonna switch gears for a minute, and I want to ask
Hmm.
you. We know we had the situation in Minneapolis with the school, the Catholic church or whatever. Now you are a recess officer, right? At
Yeah, school resource officer. Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
So, like, what's the day to day with that? Like, what protocols or what kind of like tactics or a schedule you have to go by to patrol? Because I'm just like, listen, I'm for recess officers in school. I
Mm,
grew up where the high schools that my sisters and my homies we went to had metal detectors. Now, this is an inner city, and things
mhm,
still popped off. It was what it was, and I took my daughter to her school, and I seen the recess officer, and he was carrying, he had a nice little polo shirt on, and he had pants on. I told my wife, I said, okay, I like this, I'm for it. But you know
mhm.
what I'm saying? Some people are not. Like what how is it being a recess officer at a school, or where you at, just cuz are you at a high school or middle school, or where you at?
Yeah, yeah. I'm at a high school. I enjoy it. I like being around the kids, and you, you, how do I? You're always watching, and like I said, I'm brand new. I'm learning the kids. The more you interact you know, with the kids, I firmly believe that. you're building relationships. So if something does happen, like the kids are more likely to come to you. Um, and you do the best you can to be prepared. Know your school layout, know their protocols, and again, it's just that mindset of knowing that you may have to get in a gunfight with. It's just the reality of the times we live in. And again, I enjoy it. I like being around the kids, and it is something new for me because most of my career has been SWAT, being proactive, and this is something that I've wanted to do for a minute. So I mean, you just do the best that you can do, and I really think that what separates um, a good officer versus a bad one, school resource officer, is again having a good relationship with the students. So that way, if something does happen, that they're going to come to you, they feel confident they can come to you.
So is because of, and he had the Oxford situation, is it
Hmm.
like a certain, like, more they get more money or more budget to get more resource officers in school in Oakland County? Is that like a push? Or did you have to come in and say this is what I want to do, or they hired you in just to do this? Like what
Well,
was that?
they've had that position there for a while. It just the person that was in it before moved on to do something else, and it became open, and I put in for it. I did an interview with the principal, the superintendent, and it was me and like seven other people, and I just happened to be the one that they chose. So yeah, if again, and if the school has the budget for it, then they'll contract the local PD to have a spot there. Some places still don't have school resource officers. But I think that a majority of schools in the United States do, and that's just because of what we've seen over the past, 8 or 9 years that it's been going on.
So are you by yourself, or you got another officer with you?
Yeah, no, it's just me. We have there's two other high schools that are like nearby, and then you have a couple middle schools. So we're all within like 1 mile or 2 miles of each other.
So each one of those has a recess officer.
Resource, yeah, each one does.
Resource.
Yeah, so I'm at the East High School. There's a main high school, and then there's a middle school. There's a couple middle schools there.
Mm. So the kids, what's the weirdest thing the kid asks you already? Like, cause kids would just ask you, just they don't care. The great thing about kids, they
Right.
don't care. They have no
Um,
pause. It's no filter on them.
I haven't gotten anything weird asked just yet. It's only been the second day of school, but I'm sure
All
those
right.
those questions.
So let me ask you this, and then we can get up out of here. So after you dump all that, what's your everyday, your EDC? Like what's your go to?
My everyday carry is a Glock 45 and a T-Rex appendix holster with an extra mag. That's what I carry every day. My Glock 45, it's got some grip work done to it. I got an Overwatch trigger on it, the tag trigger, and then I rock a Hollow Sun 50, I think it's the 507C. Then I have a Streamlight flashlight on there, and that's just pretty much my EDC.
So, do you believe in the more lumens or more candela? Or like what's because it's
Uh, I
or
no,
do
dude,
it,
I
or
don't.
do you carry a side, or do you have another flashlight handheld?
Nope. I carry my flashlight that's on my gun, and I keep it simple. I don't I don't get into all the crazy gear. I've used Streamlight for years. That's what I use. And there are some other good flashlights out there. Don't get me wrong. It's just on my rifle and on my EDC. It's just Streamlight's just what I choose to go with. I know the Surefire X300 is a good flashlight. Like I said, there's plenty of good stuff out there. It just depends
Yeah.
on what you want.
Did you what did you think? Did you see? And if you did, what did you think about that Trigger Tech Glock trigger?
I haven't seen it. I've kind of heard good and bad about it. I've tried. What trigger did I try? I tried the Zev Tech trigger. I didn't like that one very much. And honestly, it was so when I first bought the USPSA gun that I first bought, I bought it. I bought it back in 2022, and that's just a gun that it just fit. It just worked beautifully, and And when I bought it on gunbroker.com, and they don't, sometimes they have good descriptions, sometimes they don't. It's a custom P80 lower and a Zev Tech upper. And I had always loved how the spring and trigger combination, it's a very light trigger. And it took me forever to figure out that it was an Overwatch trigger. So since then, I've always tried to replicate that very first USPSA gun that I bought, and Overwatch flat triggers just work the best for me. I haven't tried the new Glock trigger. Like I said, once I find something that works, I tend to stick with it for a long time.
Well, I'm gonna say
But
this. I don't think you want that
it's
trigger
just,
tech. Don't
what's
put that
that?
trigger tech. I was if
And
you see
dude,
the videos. Mm-mm,
you haven't seen
mm-mm.
them? Okay. And
I
another
seen them.
thing that I hate.
I did see him, and I did
Okay.
see it. I
Have you
seen it.
shot it? Do you like it?
Let me say this. I so uh, I have a lot of MMPs, and my MMPs got Apex triggers in them. And my
Okay.
homeboy Doug from ATEI has probably done a lot of police guns, and he's kind of like the first person. I don't know if you watch Chris Chris
Hmm.
Costa. So ATI, Doug is probably the first person that started doing the serrations on firearms. He's like the grandfather of serrations. He's out of Taylor. If you look it up, ATEI. So all my triggers are done by them. All my guns are done by ATEI. So I'm an M&P guy. So the lighter the trigger, to me like even with the 2011s, you start playing with the triggers too much, things start happening that's not supposed to, right? You could
Hmm.
do too much if not the right person is tampering with it, it could go it could go full auto, right? So I'm kind of leery if the gun don't have a wall or if it has the reset is not there. It's like so when I grab that trigger tech, it was nothing in that trigger that said stop. You know what I'm saying? Because you get a little play in something that could, if you really on your shit, you could kind of like play with that trigger, like okay, and come at that
Right.
trigger tech was like wall gun off. It was like just like that, and I was like, man, and I grabbed it, and I was like, this is a problem, and lo and behold, 2, 3, 4 days later, Glock, was it Glock Mike, Glock Bob or something, took it and did some stuff with it, hit it, and the gun went off with a snap cap in it. And I was like, man, I told you. My trigger had it's no play in it. So whatever that trigger tech did to that firing pin and all that when you put that gun in there, because Glock triggers, if you like I said, if you do too much to it, it kind of messes with other things, and that's why you put a aftermarket trigger in a gun. It's kind of like voiding the warranty, right? Because of
Right.
that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's I didn't shoot it, but I grabbed it and I pull it in this like wall.
Mhm.
There's no forgiveness in there. So if you own it, it's if you touch it, it's
there ain't no prep in that thing.
ain't
It's
no
either.
prep. Nah, it's a heavy ass trigger, but I'm just saying, like, if you just it's no preparation, it's no nothing. It's like if you it's going off. It's just now like, oh, it's a little play in there because they took
Mhm.
the how the Glock trigger got the little safety. I can't think of the name of it in the
Yeah.
middle to disengage the safety. It's none of that. That's not on the trigger tech. It's just a straight trigger. So,
Oh
um,
wow. Yeah. This playing with
it's
fire.
yeah, you
You know what? I think you know what. Now that you mention it, I think I did briefly watch. I think I got distracted, but I started watching. Ben Stoker was talking about that with what was the guy? Did you watch that video? The guy was talking about it.
That's Bob. What is his name? That's the guy I reached out to talk to about the trigger tech, and he talked.
Yeah, I do remember watching that video. Yes, I do.
He I tried to reach out to him and see was he Johnny Glock and see what he was talking about
Yes,
because
Johnny Glock.
I
Yeah.
wanted to
This is the short.
let me see.
This is not good, guys. We're going to take this outside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's the one I saw. Yep.
he took it outside and he hit it on the back and it just did something crazy. But yeah, so that's it. And I tried to reach out to him to actually talk to him about like what he did and like just because it was popping, it was new, and I wanted to see what I'm saying, what his thoughts was. But yeah, man, this is what I seen, and like he did some
Nothing on the back of the primer.
just a straight up pop
I'm
cap.
gonna break it again so you can see broken trigger, racking it. Have it shut there.
Then he just look at this shit here, man. This is crazy. Look at that. That's just crazy.
The long form video will show you more.
And I don't know if you can see the trigger there.
Share
like
this to as many people as you can.
Is
this
no
is a PSA at this point, and this ain't cool.
Like Johnny Glock is not like he got a.
Just installed it. There's a long form video that goes.
Like he's you know, he got a lot of following, so he's just not this ain't no slouch. So he talked to Ben Stoker about it, and I didn't catch that video.
So we did step 5 and.
I didn't
you
catch.
can just look at that dude's background and see all the, you know, his setup and know he knows what he's talking about when it comes to gunsmithing and things of that nature.
Well, let me say that, and you know Ben Stoker was on Sig ass heavy, so just imagine.
Yeah, he's been riding Sig, man. But you know that happened to Alex Cate a few years ago when he first started shooting. That thing blew up in his hands. That video went kind of viral. So.
Did it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think about that situation? Even with
Sig? You know, I think it's kind of, you know, to put it in a nutshell, I think it's kind of irresponsible to not, you know, at least, you know, recall and fix the problem. And, you know, you have to be pretty ignorant to just be like, oh, it'll blow over. And now look at them like, you know, most of their guns are banned from competition, from law enforcement. And, you know, to not fix a problem that you're seeing is, you know, I think that's just kind of irresponsible of a big company like SIG. But
so my question is, you're an officer. I said, hey, here goes this P320. Take this.
I ain't touching that thing. Just take it completely apart first and then give it to me.
Can I put some Glock parts in here? Can it be like
I'll log it in evidence with it completely apart? How about that?
I'll log it into evidence. Hey man, Emmanuel, I want to thank you for coming on the show, man. Give me a minute. Like I said, thanks for your time and thanks for sharing your experience with my audience and everything that's got going on. He was cool, man. Did you have fun?
I had a great time. Thanks for having me. Can't wait to shoot our next match. When is your next match, by the way? When are you shooting next?
So I got an MDFI red dot class coming up this Sunday. Okay. And then in between that, I think is one at Detroit Sportsman Club. I don't know. But whatever one you go to or at, if I can make it, I definitely try to get there. If it's at Detroit Sportsman Club, that was cool. I can be there. I'm not that.
Yeah, I'll be at Detroit, and then I got Detroit, Brooklyn, and then I think there's one more at Oakland. And then
are you going to the Brooklyn Classifier?
Yeah, no, not the Classifier. There's one this Sunday coming up, so I'll be at that one.
Oh,
it's just just a level 1 match. Just I haven't shot since the Illinois sectional, so.
Oh, how was that?
Do that. It was okay.
Okay, time out. You said Illinois, right?
Yeah,
Illinois, right? Like Chicago, like that way, right?
Yeah. Yep. So it was Savannah, Illinois.
Okay, so you was okay carrying across state lines going that way, or what was that situation?
I mean, I just kept all the stuff. Like, how else are you supposed to get there? You just keep all the stuff in the trunk, man, you know? Keep it separated as much as you can and pray to God that they don't, you know, they're not on camera, so. But yeah, I had that major match, and I'm gonna definitely do Indiana. So,
I think like so you didn't go to Ohio for the Area 5 match, or that was a big match?
They had IPSC in Area 5 there, right?
Yeah.
No, I missed those. I'm gonna do my due diligence to give myself a proper off season this year, and then hit it hard next year. So
that's like I said, I didn't get into it to compete, but then once I got into it, it's like, come on, man, I'm about to. So I'm like you on the off season, I'm gonna try to hit it. So next year, I'm gonna try to get my little classifier up because I think I'm like 1% under almost being a B class. So I'm trying to get there and just start working towards getting better and doing the things I need to do. Because I like I said, I shoot a lot of I was shooting two gun, but now I think I'm a kind of shoot a little. I'm a really try to hit this hard, especially because my young homie free 02 Freeman, he
God,
master class.
Freeman is on fire right now, man. That dude.
That's young.
Like
That's young
he
nephew,
just
man.
like
That's
he
young
just like
nephew.
turned Super Saiyan out of nowhere. I'm like, this dude winning everything right now,
Hey,
man.
bro. Hey,
Freeman's such a good dude. I remember because I had two really good matches back to back, and I thought I was gonna have a breakthrough, and then I had two really bad matches back to back, and I saw Freeman, and he saw me. He was like, he sat down. He was like, bro, just you know how to shoot, just shoot, man. And he's like, you're
ain't that
thinking
some
too
shit
much.
like the mental
Yeah.
shit you put yourself through before that buzzer go off is crazy, and then the buzzer goes off, and it's a whole nother mental bullshit you put yourself through, and it's like, man, what?
Yeah, but he's such a good dude. Like he didn't have to come up and tell me that, man. But he's a class act, that guy. And I actually shot well that day just because, he was like, just shoot. You're thinking way too much. Just go back to shooting. So
Well, he rep the brand. I've been like he nephew has been shooting with us for a while, and then he got into USPSA. I brought him into like two guns and all that. So like he been shooting for a while. So I'm glad he repping the brand well. And it's weird, man. You go out. It's weird because you go to matches with him and everybody know who he is. Like,
Mhm.
they like, oh, Freeman, what you do today? Well, Freeman, what you shoot? Oh, if Freeman shot say 17 seconds and they came in 20 seconds. Oh, Freeman, I was close to you. Like it's like I'm like, wait a minute, dog. Like, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Yeah, and people think that it's only 3 seconds, but in USPSA 3 seconds is a lot,
That's
a
a damn
lot.
hour. You know what I'm saying? Like it's but they don't long as they somewhere close to Freeman and like I shot real good and da da da. I'm just like, damn,
Yeah,
Freeman.
that dude's
Like you
up here. He's on a whole different. He's on a whole different playing field.
Hey
So.
man, he call it Dry Fire Fridays. He's been doing it for a whole year. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're not on Dry Fire Fridays for 300 or however many Fridays is in a year, then you need to get your game together, get yourself together. I don't even look at Instagram on Friday because I don't even want to see that shit. Because I'm like, man, I need to go do some.
Like, come on, Freeman. Like,
Take a damn break. I'm like, all right, skip it. It's freestyle or dry fire Saturdays. Damn, Freeman. Damn.
right.
Like just whatever, man.
No,
But nah.
we love you. We love you, OG Freeman.
Yeah. Like he motivate me. I'm older than him. I'm like, man, I gotta get on my shit because I ain't, I mean, he's nephew, so I'm gonna let he's master class. You want to get the grandmaster. He repping. Hey, I'm here for it, man. And like I said, I seen you shoot one time. I was like, oh shit. They was like, oh, my man can go. And I looked, I was like, oh shit. He's shooting the hell out of that
Yeah,
damn. I
man.
don't know what you had, a CZ? What you was shooting? Or a Glock. I don't know
No,
what you
so
was.
it was that P80 lower and that Zev Tech upper that I
That was at that
bought.
Detroit Sportsman Club. I seen that one stage. I think it was like might have been like our stage 2, but we started on 5, but we had to come back around. And I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
shit. You was getting at it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was one of the two matches that I was like, I can actually do this, I think. And if I give it its due diligence, I think I can be a pretty decent shooter. And I went to Illinois, and well, first, no, before that I got DQ'd at the Michigan sectional, and that just like destroyed me, dude.
What did you do?
I forgot. I broke the 180. It was. Did you shoot the Did you shoot the sectional?
I have only really been. This is my first like time actually shooting USPSA. Like I said, I came from a
Okay.
whole different world, so I haven't shot nothing but a level 1 and a classifier. So I
Okay.
haven't did
Yes.
like a 2 or a level 2 or a sectional yet.
Yeah, man. I broke the 180, and I was like crushed. I was like, it was stage number 2, man. Stage number 2.
They got the only thing about USPSA that's different, like IDPA, because I shot that and some other things that I shoot. Like their 180s are 50. Like they put some hard 1As in there, man. Like they do it. Like some places do it. I think they do it on purpose to see how you gonna
Well,
process it.
no, they definitely do. They do it to trap you, especially, if you're a right-handed shooter and you got to move left, and it's one of those awkward positions. And what I did is, it was the shooting area was L-shaped,
Mhm.
and I had to move left, and I just overcooked my wrist a little too much, and I broke that 180 moving laterally, and they're like, you got to go, bro. I was like,
Was that your second stage of the day?
that was my second stage of the day, bro.
Ooh.
Got my ass up at 5 a.m., drove
Ooh.
out there, was ready
Don't
to
you hate
rock and
that?
roll, feeling good, bro.
Hey, can I go shoot in the kiddie pool? Like
And then
I'm
you got
all this
everybody
ammo.
texting you like, "Hey man, heard you got DQ'd." I'm like, man, screw y'all, man.
Hey, that's just that's like a walk of
Y'all,
shame.
y'all don't want to check on me when I'm doing fine, only when I get DQ'd. So
They want to talk shit. They just
yeah, but
oh, and then they set you
it's
up.
all
What did
good.
you do? Then you tell them, "Oh, you scrub." Like this is it's like walking out. It's like walking out the hotel back in the day with the fat girls. Like, oh, you caught me.
Yeah, man. It definitely does sting, but it's it. I don't mind it. Like some people would be like, screw this. I'm not paying, whatever. I think it was like 175 for the entry fee. And then, the possibility of getting DQ'd like turned some people off. But I mean, at some point, even really good shooters have been DQ'd. So it's like, it's just part of the game.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but it sucks. Like you said, second stage.
It stings, bro. It stings your ego, man, especially when, you put in the work and, you're looking at your stage planning and you do something stupid like that. You're like, bro, I just need to hang this stuff up. But
Well, it's another match, another day. I'll do better.
right, exactly. Another match, another day, brother. You just got to keep going.
Hey, man, like I said, I'm looking forward to training with you, shooting with you, and whatever the future hold. Like I said, I'm happy I met you. Like I said, I'm looking for shooters to rep to throw them jerseys on to get busy. So they can like, man, listen, we went to Detroit Sportsman Club whatever the last time they had a match. It was like we had a squad. Listen, it was like 5 or 6 black people, 2
Mhm.
Chinese, and 1 white guy. we was they was like, I think
Super
we can order
squads.
all. They was like, we got the United Nations over here in this squad because all the other squads was just white guys. It was like
Right, right.
me, Freeman. It was like 3 or 4 other guys, black guys, and then it was 2
Uh,
Chinese. There was 3 Chinese guys. I think Johnny and his 2 other guys.
Johnny
They brother
Tran.
Johnny Tran, and then Taryn or something. They 2 brothers. They shoot. One's a master class shooter, other's a B shooter, and we all in that group. But it seemed like
Uh,
that group they shoot together a lot. And one of the guys like, "Oh, we got the United Nations over here. We got black. We got 1 white guy." It's like that's the oddball. He's the oddball.
That's funny.
And
Right.
it was just weird, man, that more guys or groups of guys or culture. It's just cool to see more of, like I said, us out there and to take advantage of that experience. So it was funny. It was a good time.
That is really something I have been seeing the past I would say 2 years, is that USPSA it's starting to really grow and take off, and I think pretty soon it's going to get the recognition it really deserves, because it truly is an athletic sport. Like you have to be, and that's another thing too, is that a lot of people are starting to incorporate strength training with it as well, which I think that helps its image. And so I definitely think you'll see a lot more people signing up to shoot.
Well, I know a lot of people like my guys get down in the South and Texas, Florida, but like Michigan, Midwest, and I'm gonna say the homies don't really get out and shoot like that. And
Mhm.
maybe because they don't think they can or whatever. And I tell people it's a lot of mental discipline. You got to be disciplined to play big boy rules over here. So and that kind of people kind of shy away from the competition of it because they overthink it and think that they can't do it because it's a lot. It's intimidating. I have guys say, "Man, what y'all do is intimidating to me," and I carry a firearm. I'm just like, "What?"
Mhm.
So, but I understood the mindset of it. Like, people carry firearms, whatever, and that's cool. But when they see what we actually do, shoot, whatever, that's intimidating because I guess it's just a lot to process. I don't know, but it is what it
Yeah,
is.
man. My first match, I was pretty much, and this is me with all this training, right? Coming into my first USPSA match, I was like blown away at the fact that there were people that weren't even in law enforcement that could shoot as good as the top guy on the SWAT team. Like it was insane to me, and like how fast they could shoot. Like I was absolutely blown away at the skill level that normal civilians had when it comes to gunplay. And I knew, I was like, I have to keep doing this if I'm
Oh
truly like
yeah,
on the.
soccer that'll pull up and pop that minivan, that journey out, hoping that door and goddamn
Right.
whoop y'all ass with the soccer balls and the wheel and whatever strollers in there and jump back in the car
Yep.
and go on home like nothing ever happened. He's like, damn, I just got my ass whooped by soccer dad. What type of shit is
Right,
this?
exactly. Yeah, and I think for a lot of cops too that because you have a lot of cops that are ego driven, like they just can't put that aside. They they just
Hey
it's a
man,
very difficult thing to break down the ego of a law enforcement officer. So
and you're
you
right.
try to get them out to shoot, and they get beat by Susie Q down the street, it's soul crushing, and they're just
In my beginning stages when I was training, every time I went to a training exercise or a class, it was always state. It was state, Wayne County, Oakland County, and DPD, and I would just be in there doing what I do, and I just look over and look at the targets like, wow,
Mhm.
wow. But what I'm saying, that's another discussion for another time. It's like wow, but
Right.
um.
Wow. Exactly.
But like I said, man, thanks for your time. Thanks for taking some time out of your day, work schedule to sit down and talk to the audience, man. And like I said, we appreciate what you did. I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy I met you. And like I said, stay protecting them babies, man, for sure.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on, and can't wait to shoot with you next time. So,
All right, give me 1 second. Yo, what up, though, everybody? You look, that was an interview I just had with Emmanuel, the Flint officer that was involved in that altercation during Juneteenth about a couple years ago. So it was more of an educational piece that I wanted to talk to you about. So you heard his viewpoints and everything he had to go through prior to that, everything that he went through after that. So this is more of an educational part. I just thought it was a cool story to talk about. Like I said, we dive into some and anything on the Pop Culture 223 podcast. So look, that's it from us, man. Please hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom or wherever it's at on here. Please share it with your cousin, your uncles, your auntie. Get it out there. We need all the love and support. And also, if you want to see us talk about anything or interview anybody, let us know. Maybe we can reach out to them, see if we can get them on. If we can, we can. If we can, we can't. But at least we tried. So look, that's it from me, man. Like I said, appreciate y'all watching. Game recognize game. We recognize you, so please recognize us. And I'm out. Peace.